Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another DC review, and in this DC review I'll be covering Knight's Terror, Knight's End, and because I'm following Batman, my RCS decided to put the one-shot connected to the Gotham War, even though I'd prefer just to follow the main Batman runs. But that's alright, we'll see how we go with this and what ratings they both get. So, it's a bit of a night terror in its own right, so let's get to the main night terrors, but we also know in Australia, it's filled with night terrorists, which is our government. I'm pretty sure you remember what happened in Victoria under Dan Andrews. Yes, he's the biggest terrorist of them all. But out of the question, let's move into the real night terrors through DC Comics and Joshua Williamson. So, jumping into first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the internal art as we look around the beginning, middle, and of course the end. And also some of the things that are happening with the characters within the story. So as we jump towards the beginning of the story, we have the characters of Deadman, Wesley Dodds, Sandman, we've got Damian Wayne, and of course some members of the Justice League who have made an appearance, plus a member of Justice League Dark, which is Detective Chimp. As we start to move towards the middle of the story, Deadman gets put into the spotlight. Whilst this is occurring, we have Damian Wayne trying to make sure to keep his father awake during this process. Yes, a little bit violent, not really necessary. You could have just slapped him across the face. As we start to move towards the end of the story, we see that Deadman finally gives up his own life, or sacrifices his own life, so that Insomnia can go through a nightmare of his own creation. Jumping a little bit more towards the end, it's really nice to see Damian Wayne here, by his father's side at the hospital, until of course we get to see what's happening with Mr. Terrific and Superman and Wonder Woman as they leave. And last but not least, we have Amanda Waller creating our next terrible event, Beast World, but of course we have the character of Dr. Hate. So, for the internal art, I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. I do think it could have been better. It did feel a little bit rushed in this part of the story, but I'd also include the story too felt a bit rushed as to how it was executed. So, moving into the next area, and that is actually the area of the story. Seeing that we had a number of comics and tie-ins in relation to this story, were there any comic references? Sure enough, there weren't. Like, it wouldn't have hurt to have at least maybe had one or two, even maybe just back to the main Night Terrors run. It wouldn't have hurt to have seen that included. Next is the area of the locations, which we have the Hall of Justice. Last but not least, we have the cast of characters, which consisted of a number of the characters that appeared in some of the tie-ins, not all of the tie-ins, though I think it probably would have helped improved it if it did have some of the members that were connected to the tie-ins make an appearance, or maybe even more of them. Even though they did in the last Night Terrors issue, it didn't quite in this issue, because it felt like that they were meant to play a part in sort of like taking down Insomnia's Night Terror army, and that sort of like didn't quite happen. So the cast of characters consisting of Deadman, Batman, Damian Wayne Robin, we had Wesley Dodds Sandman, I think it is, Wonder Woman, Detective Chimp, which was really nice to see. Insomnia, of course. Superman, Zatanna, Aquaman, Mr. Terrific, Amanda Waller, and last but not least, Dr. Hate. For the overall story rating in this, I gave a 6.5 out of 10. The quality in this story is dropping, and I wouldn't be surprised if it starts to show a little bit more in Joshua Williamson's work. Now it's time to move into Gotham War. Another terror of an event. So, as we move into the Batman, Catwoman, the Gotham War battle lines, first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, but I give the cover a rating of a 6 out of 10. Yeah, this is already starting to head into Fool's Gold territory, and I think I'm going to have to start to bring Fool's Gold back if the writing gets as bad as it's gotten in this. So now it's time to move into the internal arts, which we'll have a look around the beginning, middle, and of course the end, and also what's happening story-wise with the characters. So as the story begins, we get a small recap as some of the things that have taken place, but already I've got criticisms that take place in this particular story and what's happening in this universe. I'll get to it later. As we jump towards the mid to halfway mark, we have Batman encountering Tim Drake Red Robin. No, I'm not going to call him Robin, but Red Robin. And of course we have an encounter to which we have, that's right, Batman not saying son twice, but first he is saying done. Let's get really close to that. Can anyone see the S on that? Because I can't. And then a little bit later, we move into this bit, and this is where he actually says son, but it's not actually said twice. So I got to call you out on that, Wes from TC, Thinking Critical. Of course, the things move towards the events of meeting up with Selena Kyle, to which, yes, she has the worst art in this story for her character. She has literally been hit with the ugly stick. We move towards the middle of the book, to which Damian Wayne finally catches up with his father, and Damian Wayne seems to have all the brains in this, because I think the rest have flushed their brains down the toilet. And of course, again in this scene, because the only two people who are actually disagreeing with these events are Batman and Damian Wayne. But I must admit, we do get a slight one here from actually Dick Grayson, Nightwing, which I think many have missed, even though, yes, he has removed his mask. But I think both Batman and Damian Wayne Robin were the smartest ones here, because she already knows the faces of them all. We move a little bit towards the end of the story, to which we have Catwoman take down Jason Todd. But yeah, I do agree that she shouldn't be able to take down Jason Todd. Like, for frig's sake, he could have just shot her in the leg and she'd be, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, it would slow down her defense. And as we start to move towards the end of the story, we end up seeing the character of Riddler. So no doubt he is going to play a big part in this particular story. And I think the last time the Riddler took place in a story with some of his intelligence, no, that was the Scarecrow. That was Fear State with the Scarecrow. When was the last time? Quite a little while now, to be honest. And as we finally move into, we get the next crime scene, to which Batman's on the scene. So for the internal art, I gave it a 5 out of 10. Yes, this is falling into fool's gold territory. Next is the area of the story. First things first, do we get any references to any previous issues that connect to the lead up of this story? No, we don't. No, it probably would not have hurt to include it. The next is time, to which it's brought up in story, but it should have been sort of like shown in at least some bold letters, as to saying that this takes place 8 weeks later or 2 months later. But I'd even have an issue with that. Next is the location being Gotham, and also the Kitty Cat Club, to which Selina Kyle wants to meet up with the Bat family members. The cast of characters consisting of Professor Pig, to which we see Insomnia, Damian Wayne Robin. Batman, we get to see Zero, Oracle and Catwoman, Tim Drake, Red Robin, Nightwing, Red Hood, Spoiler. We also had Kate Kane, Batwoman, make an appearance. Renee Montoya. And last but not least, the Riddler. For my overall story rating in this, I give a 5 out of 10. But I want to bring up a bit of a problem with this story. If this is meant to be taking place 8 weeks or literally 2 months after, or 2 months, which would be the 2 months that Night Terrors has been taking place, the writer is also forgetting that Selina Kyle, Catwoman, was also caught up in these Night Terrors. And whenabouts does the character wake up? And it should be indicated as to when her character woke up out of this particular nightmare. And this is why it actually deserves the rating of a 5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.